for coming out today. I know that we caught some of you guys at the last moment, but again, thank you for welcoming Nikki into our city.
Hello. Really nice to be back here. Can you hear me? I always have to ask that question first. Is it going always? Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. What we're going to do tonight is I'll do a reading from my latest novel, Cyber Case. And after that, we're going to open up the area for a discussion. But I know that some people here have already read the book, and there's certain things about the story that we just shouldn't reveal. So I'm going to ask the people who haven't read it to not ask any questions that would give away the story to those who are buying the book tonight or bought it earlier over at Lowe's. Is that right? Okay. So he gave a pretty good synopsis of Cyber Case. Cyber Case is a story that explores social networking and what it can do to a relationship when online interactions aren't handled in the best manner. So what I'm going to do is set up a scene here from the book. My two main characters are Giovanna and Melanie, and in this particular scene here, Giovanna has become a little bit suspect of her girlfriend Melanie and Melanie's online relationship with another woman named Sunday. And in this scene here, Melanie has invited Giovanna to come visit her at her office after work. And this is after an evening in which Melanie had returned home the night before with very late after work without much explanation as to where she had been. So Giovanna's feeling a little bit uncomfortable, but she's feeling a little bit better as well since Melanie has invited her to come visit her at her job. Let me just add quickly that Sunday is not only an online friend of Melanie's, but she's also Melanie's new client at her law firm. So I'm going to do a quick reading here of what happens when Giovanna shows up at Melanie's office and when she gets a little peek at Sunday, who appears to be a threat to her relationship. Can you hear me? I'm talking way close. Okay.
We can hear you all the way in the back. Over here.
Great. Okay. Giovanna, you're looking lovely this evening, Mr. Riley, the security guard in Melanie's office building, told me after I entered through the revolving doors. Because of my frequent trips to visit Melanie for lunch and after work, Mr. Riley, the second shift guard, and I had become acquainted. He was an older gentleman, soft in his nature and excessively polite. Thank you, Mr. Riley, I said as I approached the large guard station. How are you tonight? He smiled delicately. Blessed to have another day. That's right, I responded as I signed the visitor log in order to get to the office level. I checked the clock perched on the station to document my time. It was 7:26 p.m. You two doing anything special tonight? Mr. Riley asked. I don't think so. We've both been busy and haven't had much time to see each other. Melanie asked me to come by tonight to visit while she works a bit. Well, have a good time, Miss Giovanna. He grinned pleasantly. Thanks, Mr. Riley, I replied, and then headed toward the elevators. When I reached Melanie's floor, the hall was quiet. Through the frosted glass door, I could see movement just before I turned the knob. Upon entering, I saw Rick, a young colleague of Melanie's, walking past with folders in his hand. Hey, Rick, I said perkily, how's it going? Giovanna, hey, how are you? Looking spiffy tonight, he said. Thanks, Rick. I touched my curls to be sure they were still in place. Melanie in her office? I haven't seen her in a while, but I think so. Good to see you, he said, and jetted toward the copy machine. I walked past the unmanned receptionist desk and further into the firm's office. It had a professional appeal with flat blue-gray carpeting, polished cherrywood walls, and leather furniture throughout. I peeked into the conference room next to Melanie's office, which was empty. Her office door was closed, Though I heard light talking inside, I knocked gently. When Melanie opened the door, there was a genuine look of surprise on her face, followed by an expression of annoyance. She quickly exited her office and closed the door, but not before I saw a set of long crossed legs seated at the chair in front of her desk. "What are you doing here, Joe?" she asked irritably. "You asked me to come see you after work," I answered, confused by her snappy state. "It's not a good time." "And why not?" I asked and crossed my arms over my chest. "A client is here right now." "Well, I'll wait," I told her obstinately. "Joe, just head back home." "Why, Mel? I've waited for you plenty of times when you've had clients. What's the problem?" I asked, although I knew the answer. "Who's here?" "A client. I just told you that." The expression on her face was that of exasperation and desperation. "Who?" I asked again. "It doesn't matter. I'm busy right now," she said. Just as I was about to reach for the doorknob on her door, Rick interrupted. "Isn't she one of the most beautiful women around? Giovanna, you need to stop by more often and brighten up this place. No offense, Melanie," he kidded. Melanie momentarily lightened up and smiled faintly. "She's the best." After Rick passed us and closed the door to his office, I questioned Melanie again. "Why can't I wait?" "Please don't make a scene, Joe." "Make a scene? Make a scene," I said louder. "When have I ever made a scene with you? I'm not like that, Melanie, you know it." Melanie didn't respond, only stared at me. I stared right back at her, and for about 15 seconds, neither of us said anything. "I'll see you at home." Can you hear me? "I'll see you at home," she stated firmly, in a tone that informed me that the conversation was over. She stepped backward, opened her office door, and closed it in my face. I wanted to open the door, though I was too frightened at what I might find on the other side. My insides twisted in knots as I stood in contemplation and tried to determine my next move. If Melanie's meeting with her client was indeed for business, and I opened the door in a panic and fury, surely Melanie's credibility would dampen. However, if I walked away and allowed Melanie to proceed with a so-called meeting with a woman that appeared to be a threat to my relationship, then what kind of woman was I? Then again, I still had no concrete evidence that my runaway suspicions of Melanie's peculiar interest in her client were accurate. Though my instincts were screaming yes, I had no proof that the client inside of Melanie's office was gray-eyed Sunday. For another 60 seconds, I stood outside the door. I listened to the soft chatter from inside the office, the words